You know, every once in a while you come across a piece of technology that reminds you of why you like following the progress of technology in the first place. And every once in a while you come across a pair of earphones that you just cannot put down. And you end up spending the rest of the evening and, let's face it, halfway in the night, just listening to music. Because not only does it remind you of why you like exploring earphones and headphones in the first place, it also reminds you of how much you just like to explore music. This is more one than the other, and this is my review of the Sony WF-1000 XM4. And yes, I did get that name right the first time around. Booyah! Okay, right off the bat, I want to say that this is a little bit of a momentous occasion for me because this is the first time a brand has actually sent me a product to review. So I'm kind of excited. Having said that, they get no say in what I say about their product to you. So this review will be, as usual, a critical, unbiased, unfiltered review. Now with that out of the way, let's get started. I'm not going to waste too much time on the presentation and unboxing, but I will say that they used no plastic in the packaging of the device, and also the packaging seemed to be made of some kind of biodegradable material, so big ups to Sony for that. What about the device itself? Well, first let's talk about build quality. Right off the bat, you notice that the case is made of a very light plastic. If you take the earbuds out and just hold the case alone, you might even be led to think that it is a little bit cheap feeling. This is, however, completely compensated by the finish of the product, which is this beautiful matte black or off-white finish, depending on which one you get, with just a few rose gold accents here and there to give it that little bit of pizzazz. Inside, the earbuds have the same kind of finish with the rose gold and the matte black, and honestly, they feel quite solid. For build quality, yes, I do think the case could be made slightly more premium feeling, but overall I'm tempted to give them a 7.5 out of 10. However, in my 1 week of usage, I can already tell that the lid has become a little bit loose in some ways, and this definitely should not be the case at this early stage of usage for a device of this price. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Now when it comes to fit and finish, we have to talk about the design a little bit first. Now, the case itself is a phenomenal improvement over the previous generation XM3. It's significantly smaller and lighter, and honestly, while it isn't the most pocketable device around, it's significantly more pocketable than a lot of its competitors, and that should definitely be taken in its favor. Now, there is this strange thing where the matte finish of the case has this effect of actually making it a little more slippery, and to understand what I mean, imagine a marble surface, a smooth marble surface, and you running your hand along it. Now, if it is dry, it's pretty smooth and it's fairly slippery, but if there's a little bit of moisture on your hand kind of catches on the surface a little bit. If you put a thin layer of powder on that marble though, your hand will just glide across, even though it feels a little rougher to the touch. That's basically the effect that this matte finish has. It is matte. It does feel a little rougher to the touch, but somehow it makes it a little more slippery to handle, and that makes me a little bit nervous. By itself, that's not a problem, but if you open up the case, the earbuds have the same finish, and they've got this sort of bulbous shape that makes it a little bit hard to find a good way to grab it out of the case. Add to that the fact that they're held in place by some fairly strong magnets, make these a little difficult to take out, and when you do take them out, I don't have the utmost confidence that I won't drop them. Now, I'm going to put that down to the fact that I have thick stubby fingers and the dexterity of a 2-year-old, so I'm not going to hold that against Sony. But the problems do get worse when you actually put them in your ear. Not that they are terrible, but unless you have larger ears, I find that these are not the most comfortable to wear. And I have a theory as to why. This is the earbud. Now imagine this is your ear canal and you place your earbud like so. What you can see is a large amount of the weight is concentrated around here. And it is reasonably heavy for an earbud. It's about 7.3 grams each earbud. All that weight is acting downwards this way because of gravity, which means the bit that's inside your ear canal is correspondingly acting upwards against your ear canal and causing a little bit of discomfort. Now, this is not just the Sony earbuds, this is all earbuds, and a lot of earbud manufacturers get over this by doing a few things. They can either make this smaller and lighter, or they can make the shape so that it fits in your ear a little bit more flush. Or like Bose, they can even use those wingtip type silicone earbuds. Sony has opted to go the more traditional route while still keeping this sort of bulky design. See, these are consumer electronics and they should be made to be comfortable for the average consumer. Problem is, the average consumer doesn't like things going into their ear. So if you do insist on an IEM like design, then you have to make it as seamless and as convenient as possible. The fact that you have to insert those ear tips into your ear and you have to check which ear tips fit you best and experiment and find the best fit and isolation for yourself. And then when you do that, even then, the shape and the bulk of the design still exert a little force on the side of the ear because they don't go completely flush, at least not to my ear. Even though this is a massive evolution from the XM3, I feel like they're still not quite there yet. So I'm going to give them a 6.5 out of 10 for fit and comfort. Okay, when it comes to usability, this could be an entire video in itself. So I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible, so let's get started. Right off the bat, there is one hitch with the app. The best way to pair this device is to start up the app and press connect, because then it'll start your Bluetooth and it'll pair the device on its own. If, however, like a normal person, you have your Bluetooth already running and you've paired the device will pair just fine, but the app will get a little confused and it'll require a couple of restarts. The good news is everything else in the app works without a hitch. The app itself is pretty clean and nice looking. It tells you right off the bat which codec you're using, which, by the way, should always say LDAC. That is the correct codec to be using all the time. It also shows you the charge level of both earbuds as well as the case, but bear in mind that the case charge level is only updated every time the earbuds are actually taken out of the case, so that might not be the latest information. Now below that, you'll see 3 tabs: Status, Sound and System. Under Status, you have something called Adaptive Sound Control, and this is pretty interesting. What this basically means is there are a couple of different ways that the earbuds will automatically change between noise cancelling and ambient mode. It can do that either by checking what you're doing, your state of being. So either you're sitting or standing still, or you're walking, or on some kind of transport, and you can customize exactly what you want in each of these modes. The other way to do this is based on your location. And again, there are 2 options here. You can either allow the earbuds to basically stalk you and figure out where you go every day, or you can go into this handy little map, choose a little place for yourself and tell it what kind of noise cancelling or ambient mode you would like to switch to when you're within a certain distance from that position. Now, in actual practical usage, the mode that changes noise cancelling to ambient mode based on whether you're sitting or standing or walking has a little bit of a delay. Actually, it has up to 20 seconds of delay. So if you're just moving around in your house, there's going to be a disjointedness between what it's changing to and what you're actually doing. I found that mode to be less practical, but the location-based mode actually worked pretty well, and I think that's your best bet. Having said that, do keep in mind that if you want to set a location-based behavior within the same building, say if you want to go down to the cafeteria of your office building, that won't work because that entire building will be on one geolocation. So just keep that in mind. Over the next tab is sound. This is probably the most important tab of the 3. This is the one that I fiddle around with the most, and it is fantastic. Straight off the bat, you can choose between the type of noise cancelling mode you want. You can have normal noise cancelling or automatic wind noise reduction. More on that later. You can choose between different types of ambient sound, and you can just turn the whole thing off. Below that, you've got speak to chat. Okay, in practice, how this works is if you've got music running, if you've got noise cancelling running, when you speak to someone, it detects that and it changes to ambient mode automatically. When you're done speaking, it waits for a preset amount of time that you can customize to go back to noise cancelling mode and turn your music back again. While this does work as advertised, it almost works a little too well. Like if you're chewing on food or brushing your teeth, it interprets that as you trying to say something and it keeps switching modes. So it's a neat little feature, it's a nice idea, but I don't think it's that practical. Now, just below that in the app is Equalization, and this is my favorite part of the entire app. Okay, little spoiler alert, I'm jumping into the sound section for like 2 seconds. These earbuds are incredibly susceptible to equalization. You can EQ them to have various sound signatures, and that is fantastic. And kudos to Sony for a solid 5-band equalizer and a separate slider for the bass. You can also choose Bluetooth connection quality. Okay, quick note on this. In the previous iterations of their XM series headsets, using LDAC would lead to certain connection issues. Clearly, they seem to have improved upon this, because while I was using this, I used this only on LDAC and only on prioritization of sound quality over stable connection. And the connection never once dropped out. Not in a week of usage, not even once. So I would suggest if you're using this with an LDAC enabled device, take advantage of it. Choose the priority of sound quality over stable connection and you'll be rewarded, I promise you that. Now over in the system tab, you've got again a number of options, but one of the most important ones is the ability to change the touch sensor functionality. There is a caveat though. You can change the set of functions assigned to one particular earbud. So let's say you set the left earbud to have volume settings and play and pause settings, and the right earbud to have noise cancelling settings. That's the limit of your customization. You cannot, for example, say I want one tap on the left ear to go volume up and one tap on the right ear to go volume down. That's not something you can do, unfortunately, and I wish they had included this. Now, as a side note, there are a few gimmicks in here. I can tell you for a fact that the feature in the app that actually tells you which earbuds are best for you, yeah, that doesn't really work. Even the smallest size of earbuds prove to be perfectly fine and optimal and give me the best noise isolation according to the app. But even I could hear that it just didn't do that. Medium was much better for me, and maybe large is better for you. So don't go by the app, choose for yourself and see what works for you. Overall, for features, 8.5 out of 10, no hesitation. This comes chock full of features, and when it comes to actual usability, I would be inclined to give it an 8.5 out of 10, but I do want to say that there are a couple of things that don't quite work that well. Like speak to chat is a little bit gimmicky. It doesn't really work in the real world. And also I do wish there was a little more customizability to the touch control. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 nonetheless, because it is still very impressive. And now finally we come to the good bit. That's the sound quality. Okay, when it comes to sound quality, there are various facets. Let's talk about noise cancelling and ambient sound first and foremost. Noise cancelling, these are some of the best in the market. I usually choose 3 scenarios to test noise cancelling. Number 1 is at a cafe like this one. Number 2 is on the pavement with traffic noise. And number 3 is on an aircraft. When it comes to cafe, this managed to take out most of the ambient sound, including a lot of the crowd noise. But if someone were to say, speak above everyone else, their voice would come through. So put it this way, if you're at a cafe and if you want to drown out most of the noise, but if you still want to hear the barista call out your name, these will work really, really well. Now on the pavement with traffic noise, it's a similar situation. It cuts out most of the noise except for honking and also wind noise. Although there is an option for wind noise reduction in the app, in my usage, it didn't really work that well. Nonetheless, noise cancelling does work pretty darn well overall. Finally, on an aircraft, this is some of the best earbuds that I have ever used on an aircraft. Again, second only to the Bose QC earbud, but on an aircraft, it is that close. Overall, for noise cancelling, I would give it an 8 out of 10. For ambient sound mode, it has a slider from 1 to 20, where 1 is quite a lot of noise suppression with ambient noise being piped in still. 20 on the other hand is ambient noise being amplified and piped into your ears. Somewhere between there, for me, between 13 and 16 was where I found to be the most natural sounding transparent mode. Your mileage may vary, but you do have the option to set it on absolute minimum and click on focus on voice, which will amplify those vocal frequencies. So I think the ambient sound is pretty good. It's not the most natural sounding transparency, but overall you get that customizability, and I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10 because it does work pretty well.
Ambient sound. Noise cancelling.
Do you guys remember that insurance salesman I was telling you about last time? The guy who was trying to sell me a second car insurance for my already used old beat up crap doodle of a car. And just like last time, I swear to God, this was magic. He transported us into a cafe, and before you knew it, we were right in there. And I said, "Hey man, you're doing it again. This is not cool. You can't keep kidnapping me to this, very nice and cozy cafe, don't get me wrong. But I don't want used car insurance right now. I've got to go to my ballet class." Which brings us finally to the pièce de résistance, the sound quality. Okay, in a nutshell, they're amazing. I will tell you more about it, but you should know that these are some of the best sounding wireless earbuds. No, scratch that. These are some of the best sounding earbuds that I have heard in this price range. Wired, wireless, doesn't matter, fight me. There are some caveats, of course. The strength of these earbuds lies in the mids and the highs. I was honestly very, very pleasantly surprised to see how detailed and how delicately rendered the mids and highs of music were. Add to that the fact that the separation was beautiful, and soundstage, the amount of soundstage you get out of these are astounding for IEMs, period. Now, the weakness of this earbud is in the bass. Bass and sub-bass are present, they are detailed and they are beautiful. However, they do lack a little bit of attack, that final little bit of punch. It's like being hit by a very finely crafted hammer, only to find out that the hammer is made of a very dense foam. And in the immortal words of Morpheus, when it comes to bass,
come on, stop trying to hit me and hit me.
Overall, for sound quality, I was going to give it an 8.5 out of 10, but I do think the bass could be worked on a little bit. 8 out of 10. So finally, who is this for? I mean, there are more features packed into this thing than a bus from Punjab to Haryana. It has wireless charging, it has an IP rating, it has active noise cancellation that is fantastic, an ambient sound mode that is phenomenal. Usability wise, everything seems to be customizable. What more could you possibly ask for? Oh, if you're asking me, well, the case can double up as a transmitter, you could add a low latency gaming mode, and then you could always have... Okay, that guy's being an ass. Although, I think the only downside, real downside of this product is the fit and comfort. I think that does need to be worked on a little bit. But if you're anything like me and if you value good isolation, great noise cancelling and fantastic audio quality, if you find the right kind of tips, they can be reasonably comfortable and they will reward you with everything else. I will gladly wear these all day and listen to my music collection and explore and hopefully find new exciting music. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. You've been watching What's News. Till next time, stay happy, stay peaceful, stay colorful.